How do you identify a toxic workplace culture? First things first, I'd like to say, in toxicity, nothing can grow. All right? It's very hard to grow. If you are in an environment or you're working in a space where you can get up any given morning and the first thing that comes over you is absolute dread, I mean, like, the weekend has come, you had a great time, it's Sunday night, and you're already dreading going to work the next day, right? If your manager calls you or sends you a message, it's straight up panic attack. You're in anxiety mode because you're worried, like, what's going to happen, or, you know, whatever the case is. You're completely uncomfortable. Almost everywhere I go, every time I get an audience with someone who is in the workspace, they always ask me questions surrounding the topic of a work culture being toxic. And sometimes we have to be very careful with how we explain what a toxic work culture looks like and what it feels like to be in that kind of environment. But I thought that it was necessary to talk about some things that are not great and some things that are acceptable within the workspace. So we want to talk about having a healthy workplace culture. How do we decipher if it's toxic or not? Because sometimes we see those little clippings on TikTok and everywhere else, and it's saying that something is toxic. Well, not really. If you have a productive workspace, you will have deliverables. You will have timelines. And so I wanted us to really disseminate the right information to our audience. The Designers of Change podcast is sponsored by Jace Myrie Media, Mind Food International, Grace Creates, and Vibrant Creative Studios, as well as Superlative Auto. So, Mr. Wright,
I want to ask you the question.
Sure, you want to ask?
Yes,
he did that very quick, right?
I want to ask the
You're ready
question.
to flip it because
Yes.
and we can tell them why, because HR is pretty much my field.
Yeah, this is your thing. You have been a consultant to companies. I want to ask you, describe to the audience, what does a toxic, is a twofold question.
Okay.
What does a toxic work culture look like? And if I'm in one, should I resign immediately or should I stay for my paycheck?
Wow, that's a very loaded question. But let's take it in stages, all right? So first things first, how do you identify a toxic workplace culture? First things first, I'd like to say, in toxicity, nothing can grow. All right. It's very hard to grow. If you are in an environment or you're working in a space where you can get up any given morning and the first thing that comes over you is absolute dread. I mean, like, the weekend has come, you had a great time, it's Sunday night, and you're already dreading going to work the next day. Right? If your manager calls you or sends you a message, it's straight up panic attack. You're in anxiety mode because you're worried, like, what's going to happen, or, you know, whatever the case is. You're completely uncomfortable.
So let me ask you.
I'm describing those things, but go ahead.
Is it that a toxic work culture may be subjective to one particular individual, or is it that the culture is toxic to majority of the workers?
So that's a very great
because
question.
I can say my office space is toxic.
It's
what
subjective.
If my boss is picking on me?
It's subjective. It is subjective because, again, it may not be toxic for you, but it's toxic for me because I have a very strained relationship with my immediate supervisor.
I like that.
All right? So you don't have a problem because that person doesn't have a problem with you. No, not because you don't have a problem with your manager doesn't mean that I don't have an issue. And I may be facing internal issues based on the fact that we don't have a good relationship. All right. So I'm going back to explaining what makes up a toxic work culture. It's that kind of environment that you cannot grow in. It's constant dread, fear, and anxiety. You're not being given the appropriate feedback that is necessary for your growth. You more feel like you're being beaten down, right?
I like that.
You're being beaten down. You kind of feel like, somebody keeps punching you every time you make an effort, right? Also, it's a kind of environment that you're not acknowledged. You don't feel valued. All right. And the list goes on and on and on. However, just as I said, it's subjective because not everyone will feel it. A toxic work environment could be also an environment that doesn't even encourage staff to take their leave.
Yes. And I want to say something because you mentioned something about beating down.
Right.
If you are in an organization where the leader continue to beat down an individual, what is going to happen is going to replicate
Absolutely.
in that environment.
Absolutely.
Because people like us do things like us, and guess what? That leader, they're going to model that kind of behavior. So it's like the hierarchy, the pecking order. We are weaker chicken, pick another weaker chicken. So my boss picks on me, I find a weaker employee in this department to pick on. So that create a toxic.
It's a ripple effect.
Yes,
right.
It's a ripple effect.
And then what you will find with some organizations like those is that when you probably hire someone who has a different kind of mindset, and so they decide that they're coming in to make positive change, they don't often last long.
No,
they don't last any
not,
time.
They are not going to last
because
long.
They realize that they're trying to change something, but because the culture is so prevalent, they're not able to make effective
and if
change.
they are not one of the leaders, it is going to be very difficult to change a toxic environment by yourself. You have to be at the decision making table for you to turn that around.
Absolutely.
Now, here's another question.
Hold on, I'm not done with the threefold question. You see, he gave me such a big question, and then now he's rushing me. And you see, it's a pity you guys can't see everybody nodding their head behind the cameras, but it's true, right? So Mr. Wright asked the second part of the question is, if you are in that kind of environment, should you quit? No. Listen, I believe I'm a solid HR professional. I don't tell anybody to quit their jobs.
No, we don't want you to quit your
I don't tell people to quit their jobs without an exit strategy. I don't tell people to quit their jobs without a plan.
I like that.
Yeah, because
say that again, because we have seen a lot of. I want you to look in the camera and see it. Tell them not to quit their job, because
he wants me to look in my camera because he never looks in his.
Look in that. Look in that camera, babes. That camera is for you. Jason, that camera is for you.
I know my camera.
Yeah. I want you to look in that camera and tell them, do not quit your job. Because what we have seen a lot of people who quit their job and they say, the Lord told me to quit my work.
Well,
so
here's the thing. We all have a divine connection to our source, which is God, and he does speak to us. I cannot say whether or not God told somebody to quit their job. What Natassia is telling you, what Nas is telling you right now is, if you're in a toxic workplace culture and you want to leave, before you sign that resignation letter, in fact, sign it, keep it. Before you hand it in, ensure you have a plan, all right? Because once you exit the work world and you go out there in the jungle, let me tell you, it's not easy. And the payments are not going to just continuously flow magically like that.
Yeah.
You're going to have to find means to be able to pay your bills. And sometimes we're emotionally charged, we're upset, frustrated, and we decide that we're going to quit, and our families suffer for it.
So let me just say,
our families suffer because we did not plan properly. No, let me just remind you of a few things. When you are working in 9 to 5, you have your health insurance. You're contributing to pension. There's a health card that will help you through certain emergencies. I want to remind you of those things. All right. So before you jump, remember that there are things that are available to you right now with a job that may not be available once you exit. All right?
So do not quit. You remember that billboard that I saw in Atlanta? And let me tell you what was on the billboard. The billboard said, if you want to get back on your feet again, miss 3 car payments. So don't quit, because if you quit, you probably will get back on your feet again by missing those car payments. So, babes, here's what I want you to answer me. How can one navigate such an environment? Because although we are telling people not to quit, have it ever reached a point where we can't navigate that space, that we might have to give up the paycheck, we might have to give it up and leave? But how do we navigate such environment? Because sometimes our environment can become so detrimental to your mental health that there's no other option but to leave in order to save yourself. But we're not talking the extreme route. We are talking now, how can we navigate this?
While you're there.
You're there.
So now for the person who cannot jump ship like immediately, and you need time as you create your plan. So maybe you need a 3 months, 6 months, maybe you need another year or 2 to get some things in order. Then there are some things that you actually have to start focusing on. And I'd say the first thing is you have to remember that the job is a means to an end. All right? It's not your life. So if you have that business idea, you work your 9 to 5, and then after 5, you go work your business. If you are a creative, after your 9 to 5, you go do your creative work. You go sing, you go dance, you go make your music. You do what makes you happy. So that you're able to show up again the next morning, but this time you're fulfilled. So you're able to do what you need to do on the job without feeling as though you're drained, right?
Yes. Let us just put that into perspective as what Solomon says. I probably have cut you a while ago.
Yeah, but me not on that. But Jamar, hold on there. But team, didn't he say he was going to be asking me the questions? You notice how Mr. Wright cut me every... All right, go ahead.
You mentioned something valuable, and I want to just... what Solomon said. He said, sow your seed in the morning and let not your hands be idle in the evening, because you know whether this will succeed or not. So if you are in a rough patch at work and you probably want to exit, and probably have something that you can do in the evening, we'd encourage you to work on something after your 9 to 5. So you know what? I probably can exit into this.
Absolutely. And I have this policy. We have this policy. Your 9 to 5 is paying your bills right now. So this would be considered your 9 to 5. And this one down here would be, let's say that it's your side hustle. I don't really like the term side hustle, but it's your small business, okay? Because you can't hustle into purpose. I just don't like it. So anyways, this is your business. You don't exit the job until your business surpasses the income that the 9 to 5 would provide. So it's either it's equal to or it's higher than before you decide to jump ship or to leave, right? Because again, you don't want your family suffering. You don't want you not being able to move around, not being able to eat. Let me tell you, when you're facing financial struggles and you have to do business, it's like the worst. It's the worst thing ever. Having to show up, being broke, not knowing how you're going to do things. Mind you, this is the life of an entrepreneur, but I'm just saying it's 10 times harder. So you want to ensure that when this income is equal to or surpasses, then, you can start making your exit. But if you can't do that, you work on the business. In the meantime, Don't take away your company time. No, doing your business.
Yes,
You
don't
want
do
to
that.
be reasonable, right? But you make sure you're still working on that. Also, it may mean that while you have to be navigating the toxicity of the corporate space, it may mean that you need to develop some new skills. Now, you must be saying, Natassia, I'm telling you that my boss hates my guts, and you're talking about new skills. Absolutely. Some of you need to improve your communication skills. Some of you have some very stinking attitude.
Yes, that's true.
Some of you, you're very negative, and because of that, people treat you the very way that you see yourself. And so you have to work on all these things as well, because Wayne Dyer has this exceptional quote. He says, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
I like that.
And so, yes, it's toxic, but you have to navigate it. And one true way of doing that is improving yourself until you're able to walk away. Mr. Wright, over to you.
I like that. I'm just here listening to you. Such powerful gem. Here's a thing though, babes. Can one grow in such an environment? Can a person grow in such an environment? And there's a dual thing about growth and environment, because all of us we need a growth environment, and sometimes people grow in different environments.
True.
For example, a mangrove and a cactus.
Right.
A cactus don't grow in the same environment
No.
like a mangrove.
Right.
If you put a mangrove in a cactus
in the desert, right? It's gonna die.
the mangrove will die. And if you take a
The
cactus
cactus.
and put it in the mangrove environment with a swampy marshland,
Right.
it will die. And so it have to be conducive. Can an individual grow in such an environment? Can they grow in such challenge?
All right. So this is going to feel like an oxymoron, but the truth is, although the environment is toxic, growth can be a choice. I'm going to explain something to you. I remember being a part of an organization that the general manager told me that he didn't think I was a good fit for HR. And, I was very hurt by it. He said that he thought I was better fitting for the technical area, because of course everybody knows the rough side of me, right? He said he didn't think that I was a good fit for HR, but instead of being bitter, angry, upset, and saying, you know what, maybe he's right, maybe I'm not right for HR, maybe I need to go do something else. Instead of doing that, I kept pressing. And it was the following year that we started the HR consultancy. And in no time, we had almost 100 employees. I decided that I wasn't going to allow him to stop my progress. In fact, I saw where I wasn't a good fit for HR, but when that company was being wrapped up, I sat and I calculated everybody's redundancy payment. I was the one who, was very critical in ensuring that people got what they were supposed to get. And so you have to resolve in your mind that you're not going to allow the negative circumstance and the toxicity of the environment to infiltrate you. But more so, that you are going to take the lessons and change it for the better.
So if the environment is challenging, we don't want to go to the extreme of toxic. That means the person can grow.
You can manage.
You can manage
in the midst of it. I want to say something first before you ask the next question, because while it may be toxic that you feel as though you can't grow, I want to remind you that growth does not happen in ease.
Yeah, that's true.
Growth cannot happen in ease. So you're going to have some challenge so that you're able to grow. So understand that this same environment that you're thinking is the absolute worst may be the catalyst for you, for your next position, for your next organization. And so that's why I say to you, sometimes these toxic environments, they're practice for us.
Yeah, it is. Because sometimes most of the time, a lot of the times, we grow in challenging circumstances.
Absolutely.
And it is true, because they will tell you that grapes that grow in the most harsh environment, those are the grapes that makes the best
The best wine. Interesting.
Yes, because if if the grapes are grown in not such harsh environment, most time they have too many, juice and stuff like
Right.
that. So they are not really good
The
for
best.
wine.
They're
The
not the
best.
best
So it's the one
quality.
that grow in harsh environment. I think you have answered this question. Is my boss too toxic?
Well, we spoke about
Yeah, we
that.
spoke about. So I want to go to this one. When should I leave?
When should you leave?
Yeah.
Okay. All
When
right.
should I leave or quit?
So what we could do is let's talk about when you should leave, and then we'll take a break and then come back and talk some more on this, because I know this episode is gonna help a lot of people.
Yes.
I would say you should leave if your health is in danger.
Say that again.
If your health is in danger
You
and it's
should
not a
leave.
case where you can get leave, you can't get a sabbatical, even if you can get like a no pay leave for the month or so to feel better. If that's not up for negotiation,
Yeah.
then naturally you have to choose yourself.
Yeah.
And a lot of us as adults, we have a problem with choosing ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that is a grave, grave mistake.
Yeah.
Another thing that I can tell you is not worth risking is your family.
Yes.
So for example, you're a husband, you are a dad, and you have not seen your children and your wife in a very long time because you're always working. Well, I'm here to tell you, buddy, that you're going to end up with no wife and no children.
Yeah.
Because that woman is going to leave. And so you have to balance. It's a balancing act. It's not always comfortable. However, you will have to decide. I remember having, I have an uncle who is an elder in a church. He's a witness. So he's an elder in Jehovah's Witness organization. And he worked for a alcoholic beverage company, and I remember him stepping away because the roles would have had him going to parties promoting, and that was
Yes.
like a complete anomaly that
Yeah.
he could not work with that, so he had to exit. And I don't remember how he ended up moving on, but those reasons are important.
Yeah.
And if your life is in danger, I wouldn't tell you to stay in a job. If your life is in danger,
Yeah.
if you feel as though you're putting yourself out there at risk to get killed, and it sounds crazy because a lot of jobs are like that, but it's up to you. If you don't feel as though
Yeah.
you should be in that space, then I
Yeah.
say make the call.
Yeah, I said those two reasons are solid reasons. I
Yes.
know they are more if your health is at stake.
Yep.
And if you are going to lose your family
Absolutely.
or your mind.
Yeah, can I tell you though? Can I tell you? I mean, a lot of times we're worried that we don't want to be sick for too long because we lose the job. I'm an HR consultant. If you drop down dead today,
Let's put a black.
I personally, I'm just letting you know, I personally, once I'm called to recruit, I start working right away.
Yeah.
I have to be open and honest with you guys. Like, they don't waste any time.
Yeah, they put a bow on your chair for a week.
Yeah, man.
And by
You'll
the
be
following
lucky.
week, someone will replace
Honey,
you.
nobody's putting any bow on your chair. There's another coworker that wanted that chair a long time ago because theirs is broken.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest here that you have to understand that these things are more important. They'll pay for your funeral and everything, right? They may help your family, but it's still not worth it, guys.
Yeah, they are just some things money can't buy.
Absolutely.
They are just some things money can't buy.
We have to take a break now. When we come back, we're just going to wrap up this discussion about, toxic workplace. Are there any benefits from that, from being in a toxic workplace? We want to talk some more, but we'll be right back. The Designers of Change podcast is sponsored by Jace Myrie Media. Mind Food International, Superlative Auto, Grace Creates, and Vibrant Creative Studio. Now, basic time basically done.
Yes,
But
this sounds like a rhetorical question, though. Are there any benefit to derive from being in a difficult work culture?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I'm going to give you guys, and we're going to close with this. We know that the end result of grapes is to become wine, right? So we know that the grapes are going to be crushed, right? And then they go through a fermentation process, and then they should become something. Now we are, as people, we kind of go through that same process, right? So we're like grapes. When we're crushed, we're in the work environment, people talk down to us, people, treat us poorly, we don't get the promotion, they favor somebody else, so we're broken, we're hurt, we're crushed, right? And so when we're left to ferment, this is when time passes. We have a choice. You can choose if you are going to be the bitter employee and become vinegar, or you're going to be the employee that uses all those negative circumstances to be a better professional. I'd say to you that the greater choice is to become the fine wine.
Yes.
All right? Because let me tell you something about vinegar. Vinegar is horrible to the taste. What do you use vinegar for? Wash our hair, wash our meat, to clean the place. We, all these different home remedies. But when you think about a very high quality, expensive wine, what do you use that for?
Yes.
You open that up when you have some kind of celebration, right?
Bestseller wine.
It's a bestseller wine. It's expensive.
Yeah.
It's smooth to taste. It has it has that luxurious look. Whatever the case is, you have to decide that you are going to be fine wine in your work life, in your career.
Yeah.
You have to decide that, yes, this boss is horrible.
Yes. But you can learn.
I hate his guts, but I can still learn from him.
Yes. So even though right now you may be in a challenging environment, you can use that environment to become better.
Absolutely.
You might be crushed, but you don't have to be vinegar.
Right.
You can become a bestseller wine. Here's the thing, is that success is always uphill. And we don't grow in comfort.
No, we don't.
We grow where there's challenge, when you have to stretch. And that is why success sometimes can be a lousy teacher.
It is, man.
It is, because sometimes it can shelter us.
Yes.
You want some success, but you also want to be in an era where you are challenged. And guess what? Never judge a situation too quickly.
Oh, powerful.
You might say today we have moments in our life, babes, when we judge a situation too quickly. When we say, my God, this was the best moment. You signed a business contract and you said, my God, you celebrate and you said, this was the best moment in your life. And 2 years down the road, you realize that it was the worst decision.
We were like, man, we wouldn't want that again,
This
right?
was the worst decision. And here's the flip side. You can be going through a rough patch now, a difficult patch at work with your boss. It looks toxic. It look as if you want to quit. But guess what? Couple of years down the line, that was the best thing
that could ever happen to
you.
That's
I was
what I'm
listening to somebody recently. They missed an opportunity to purchase a house 5 years ago. And when they look back at the destruction that happened to that property, that scheme, they say, my God.
That was a good thing.
That was a good thing. So don't judge your situation.
Don't judge your situation too quickly. And the last point that I'll leave with you guys as we wrap up this toxic talk.
Yeah. What if I'm contributing to toxic?
What if you are the toxic one in this space? And that's why I said to you, before you exit, actually think about what are the things that you need to change, because sometimes we're the ones fueling and
Yes.
triggering the responses from
Yeah.
other persons. And so I wanted to ask yourself, do some deep diving. Say, man, am I the one who really needs to change? Am I the one that's making it bad for everybody else? But these are definitely food for thought here on
Yeah.
Designers of Change
Yep.
podcast. Guys, that was literally episode 9. Can you imagine?
9.
Super excited to be continuously
Yes.
sharing with you guys. Again, we want to say thank you to our amazing partners out there. Jace Mary Media, big up yourself, Jace. Mind Food International, Superlative Auto, Grace Creates, and Vibrant Creative Studio.
Yeah. And that little button, subscribe.
Subscribe on YouTube. Find us on all our social media platforms. It's listed below. And we are just super excited to continuously be sharing with you guys. Blessings.
See you next time.
Thank you for joining us for the Designers of Change podcast. Join us on the next episode.